hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rooster Crows podcast. I am Rob Deer. We have a really special guest today. Not only a great pitching coach, but a great friend and somebody that made my 8 years of coaching be as special as it was. And that's Mike Couchee. Thanks for being here, Cooch.
My pleasure, old buddy. It's been too long, that's for sure. It has been too long.
Tell us a little bit about when you got started and what evolved over the years, because it's been, like, I've learned so much about pitching from you and Boz at the same time over the years. My whole life is all about hitting.
Oh, I know.
And so when it's like I like to sit down and talk about pitching, and I think people will really be interested in your thoughts about pitchers today and velocity record, all this stuff.
I just retired in 2022, so I'm not that far removed. Probably should have retired before that, just because of the way the game has changed, and it seems as if they don't. The industry, the people in charge nowadays don't really want, to put it bluntly, baseball people like you were and I was and a lot of other people that we were around were. They really don't want us because they feel like we're interfering.
Yeah.
With all the analytics and all that stuff that's come out the last 5, 6, 7 years. They've kind of taken charge of everything, and it's really difficult. It took a lot of the fun, like you were saying. It took a lot of the fun out of being a coach.
Oh, because we're not allowed to really coach that much.
No, you're being dictated to by these people that, again, to be blunt, I'm on your show. You said I could be. People that have never worn a jock in their life. People that have never stood in a batter's box, never stood on a mound. All they do is they look at their data from their computers. They put these plans together and say, hey, this is what you're going to teach this kid. And
I'm glad you brought that up. That was my turning point. I'd been in San Diego for 8 years as the hitting coordinator. I was the AAA coach with you after we were done playing. And something happened to us in San Diego that I want to bring up because I've been angry ever since that happened. And that was a situation. That was a case of, you had hired pitching coaches that you wanted in the organization. I had hired hitting coaches. I hired Ben Ogilvy. He was one of our hitting coaches.
Yep. I remember Benji.
Yeah, and we had everything was going good. These guys are all big league players. David Freese. I remember the first swing he ever took in Eugene, Oregon.
Yeah.
We had just signed him.
Yeah.
He comes up to the batting cages, and I'm standing there. And the very first swing David Freese took hit about a 450-foot shot to straightaway center field.
He could do that.
We had the carpet pulled out in front of us in San Diego. And I'm not going to mention any names, but this little guy, we'd see him. He showed up at the clubhouse one day, and Ty Waller's our farm director, and another name I want to bring up. I know. I was going to bring it up before that, but I don't. But this guy shows up, and we don't know what he's doing. Ty Waller says, well, he's just overseeing some stuff and this, that, and the other. So he's there all half summer, and season's over, and we get word that 18 people were fired. And it's like, I got some lady that worked in the front office in San Diego. She got fired, a telephone operator, and all this stuff. And that person was Grady Fuson. And I will never forget what he did and how he screwed up an organization. He came in there, and then the next year he fired me.
Yep.
And, hats off to him because I've never been fired in my life. Grady Fuson was the first person to fire me. But, we learn and we grow and move on after that. But that was the funnest time. I've had great times in the big leagues, but my times as a coach with you and Dougie and everybody, and a special, special person that I'm going to bring up.
I know who you're going to say.
Yeah. Like Bill Brick.
Yep.
Was our field coordinator. And he was, I'm going to let you talk about Bricky because you met Bricky before I did.
I played for Bricky. Bricky was my first professional manager.
Yeah, Bill Brick, scout, everything. He was close with KT in San Diego.
Extremely.
and one of the greatest men you'll ever meet, passed away a couple years ago now.
Yep.
And to know Bill Brick is to, like, he just
Makes you a better person.
just a great guy.
It makes you a better person.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I was lucky enough because I signed in 1980, and he had been a scout most of his career, I think, and he would manage the rookie ball teams, the half-season teams, when after the draft. So I was lucky enough when I got drafted, he was my manager up in Grays Harbor, Washington, where, I don't know if you've ever been to Grays Harbor.
I've heard of it. It's a big baseball place. Kind of a town, like.
Let me put it this way: the stadium would have burnt down if it didn't rain every day up there.
Well, I played in some of those parks.
Oh yeah, we all did.
Yeah,
we definitely played. It wasn't the only one we played in.
Right.
But no, he was a manager up there. Our clubhouses were trailers and no hot water. Just typical minor league rookie ball stuff.
And that stuff we
beautiful.
didn't know any better.
No,
I remember riding, all of us from Shreveport, Louisiana,
Oh, yeah.
driving to El Paso, Texas,
Yeah.
with no windows on our bus in the dead of the summer.
Oh, yeah.
And there's people sleeping in the overhangs with people
Absolutely.
underneath. I always used to
Been there,
sleep
done
under the
that.
seat.
I went up above.
We
Yeah.
didn't know.
No,
we
that's
didn't know
what
any
you did.
better.
That's what
All
you
we
did.
wanted to do was get to El Paso so we could buy some cheap cowboy boots.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What was the name of that place there?
Tony Lama.
Tony Lamas.
Yep.
Yep.
That was the whole thing.
That was, we didn't care about the games. We just
No,
wanted to
no,
get
no.
our boots.
Everybody, and you'd be there for 3 days, and you go to the boot store 3 days in a row. Oh, I want to get those, and you can't afford to buy a couple pair.
No, we're making about $400 a month before taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
No. But no, to get back to Bill Brick, just a tremendous person. I mean, lucky enough, like I said, to be able to play for him my very first year in pro ball, which was a great, what's the word, indoctrination. I mean, he set me straight as far as how to go about my business as a pro, and he was tremendous. And then to be able to come back full circle after I'd gone off and coached with the Angels and come back and have him be my boss, because he was the field coordinator.
Yeah.
I mean, Ty Waller was the farm director, but Bricky was our field coordinator. And as coordinators like we were, to be able to work with him, day in and day out, side by side.
Yeah.
What a pleasure.
Yeah,
What
he was one of those.
person.
Yeah, he was one of those baseball guys that don't come around very often.
That's exactly right.
The thing that made Bricky cool is he listened to us.
Yes.
And then went to the organization. It wasn't like organization, they come to us and tell us what to do.
No, and that's what I'm talking about, how it's changed nowadays.
Right.
I mean, that was what happened back in our day.
It's exactly what happened.
Bricky he'd hear from KT. KT would say, hey, we're going to need somebody, in Philadelphia to start next Tuesday.
Right.
Bricky would come to us and say, hey, who do you got? We need this and that. And then Bricky would kind of leave it up to us.
That's exactly
to be able to give our insight and our input. And then ultimately, obviously, him and KT would make the decisions, but at least they wanted our input. I mean, they expected it, and I mean, that's what was fun about it. It was at least you felt like you were a part of something back then.
Right.
And that's all changed.
I have a teammate that was a major league manager, and he's a Hall of Famer, and he said to me that every day before games would start, he'd get to the clubhouse, and there'd be 3 lineups on a table, and he got to pick what lineup he wanted. And that shows you where baseball's headed.
Yep.
And what it's, a Hall of Fame major league star managing a team, and he has to pick.
Being told which ones.
Yeah.
You get to pick one, though.
And they're all upstairs in the thing, typing away.
No, it's
it's not how baseball. Anything can happen in baseball.
It's again. That's why I got out.
Yeah.
It was just it had taken the fun away. I missed the kids. I really missed the kids. There's a few of the staff members along the way that I miss, but for the most part, I don't miss any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Like I said, they took the fun out of it. And I always said, I talked to you about this the other day, that I'd always told myself that when people started to try to tell me what to teach a kid and how to teach them, and if it was going to be detrimental to their career, then that's when I was going to get out. And that's what happened. I mean, I saw more careers derailed and ended than I saw enhanced by all the new stuff that was coming into the game.
You know, and we've had a couple people on that have been in baseball up until the last few years, and they all say the same thing. And it's just, you know, it's unfortunate.
Yes, it is.
Because of all the changes. I think the game is, it's hurting now. And people are, you know, they try to cut the time out so they're not there as long, and we have bigger bases now.
There's so many rules.
You know, and it's like, so be it.
Yeah, no, there's so many rule changes, and like I said, the rule changes are part of the whole big picture of it changing and not being nearly what the fun that it used to be. But it's the other stuff of what they're expecting or trying to tell coaches to teach these kids nowadays. And,
right.
And like I said, the injuries are, I mean, you see them going way up. And yeah, guys throw hard. Guys threw hard when we played.
And that's, I'm glad you said that, because I want to hear it from you, your thoughts. Like I have my thoughts on hitters and my thoughts on the game today, but I don't understand the pitching part of it. So
I don't either anymore, I don't think.
Like,
I mean, the last 4 or 5 years I was going to the ballpark, I swear to God, every day I got to the ballpark, I was dumber than I was the day before. After being in the game for 40 years.
So, and I've talked to several people about this, but do you think they're really throwing as hard as it says?
No. Oh no.
There's no way.
Those gun readings and the velocities that we're seeing, they're not the same gun velocities and readings back in the 70s and 80s. I mean, I don't even think we probably never saw a gun reading until we're maybe got close to the big leagues back.
Right.
Early
we didn't even know.
No.
What's that guy holding up?
It didn't matter.
What's that guy holding up?
Yeah.
Flashlight? Yeah.
Exactly. No, it just, and I get it. I mean, numbers can be helpful. And a lot of this, I've always told people I'm not anti-analytics, but there's a time and a place. I think it can be a great teaching tool, but there's so much of the stuff that they think they've developed and come up with, and they're so intelligent that they've got all this new. 99.99% of it is not new.
Eyewash.
It's all the same stuff that we dealt with as players, that we coached with as coaches. That it's all the same. I mean, is it more advanced? Yeah. We didn't have a printout of the spin rates and launch angles and all that.
That's worthless to me.
I've always said, and I'll say it to the day I die, till I'm buried, from a pitching standpoint, hitters let you know everything you need to know about your stuff.
Yeah.
I don't need a machine.
And this is the kind of stuff, now explain that, because I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying.
Well, I mean, spin rate might be great. I mean, there might be an advantage. I'm sure there's an advantage to having better spin rate. But just because now they've got it on a computer and they can show you what it is, doesn't mean the people that we played with and against and people that played before us didn't have, I mean, they had the same stuff.
Oh, yeah.
They just didn't have a piece of paper or a computer that they could look at and say your spin rate on your fastball is such and such.
Right.
So again, it's nothing new. It really isn't. They've come up with new terminology that they try to make it sound like.
Reword it. So it sounds like they invented it. Yeah.
Exactly. So they think that they came up with it, they invented it, and that they want to put their little stamp on it and makes them all smarter than us.
Yeah.
And that's just not the case. I mean, I'm not saying I'm the greatest pitching coach in the world, but 90% of the stuff that maybe more than that they show on these printouts and computers and screens, I can see it. I can see it as a pitcher. I can see what the guy's doing. I can see what his ball's doing. I can see the movement he's getting.
Right.
I can see the location. I mean, you can see all this stuff. But the new age guys, they think that they've developed all this stuff and it's new.
It's frustrating, huh?
Again, that's why I thank goodness I had my last few years with the Giants. I had a boss, the farm director, that was a baseball guy, like you and I. Now, does he, or not just him, but do these guys have to play the game a little bit to keep their jobs and buy into some of this stuff? Absolutely.
And that's,
I get it because they're young and
they need a job.
They got to make a living.
Right.
They got to take care of their families too. So I get it. But getting back to what I was going to say, thank goodness I had a guy that was my boss that was a baseball guy.
And who was that?
Kyle Haynes.
Oh, yeah.
His brother was a big league hitting coach. He may still be a big league hitting coach.
Yeah.
He was a player, manager in the organization for a long time.
Those guys are valuable.
Great baseball guy.
Yeah.
And now he's in charge of the minor leagues.
Good for him.
And like I said, if it wasn't for him, I would have never got the chance to retire because I'd have been fired like 4 or 5 years before I was able to go.
Sooner or later, they're going to get you, or you can't take it any longer.
That's what it was.
I mean, that was me. And then
I did my best to get fired because all the stuff that was being thrown out there, I mean, I just got to a point to where, I mean, I guess I was comfortable enough in my life to where if I got fired, I got fired.
Yeah.
I was going to be okay with that.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I said what I thought, and I did what I thought was best for the kids. And like I said, thank God I had a baseball guy that was basically writing my checks and signing my checks that kept me around because I think he agreed deep down. I know he agreed.
Right.
But, you know, that's why I was able to retire and not get fired again.
I want to touch on this real quick, and then I want to get into some of our stories, like you putting dog shit all over my foot pedal in my golf cart, underneath my seat.
I would never do that.
In spring training.
I wouldn't do that because I know what goes around comes around.
So talk to me about all this stuff about pitchers only going a certain amount of innings. And pitchers can't do this, and pitchers aren't throwing 100. And now, why is that?
Again, it goes back to these new age analytical people that are crunching these numbers that say after a certain number of pitches, your body can't handle this anymore, and you're going to break down.
They didn't say that back in the day.
No, and
never even heard that.
And they didn't break down.
Pitchers
back
didn't want to
day.
come out.
No,
they were pissed. They were yelling.
No.
I remember that.
When I was with the Angels, I just started coordinating mid '90s, early '90s. Bill Stoneman, ex Major League pitcher, was the GM for the big club. Ken Forsch, ex-Major League pitcher, he was our farm director. Our pitching philosophy when they were there for starting pitchers was, here's the ball, we'll see you in 9.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's what we preached.
Wow.
And
you never told me that.
Yeah. But that's 2 ex-Major League pitchers that
and
knew
20
what it
years
was like
ago.
to be out there. Yeah, 30 years, 40 years ago now, probably. Yeah, we're old. But that was our philosophy. I mean, the pitch counts, it was common sense.
Yeah.
Because you and I both know a pitcher can go out and throw 75 pitches in 5 innings, and it's second and third, nobody out every inning. And, I mean, it's just nut-cutting pitches.
Yes.
You're working your ass off. And, I mean, it's a grind. And, man, it's time to get him out. He's spent. You can have another guy that's cruising and nobody on base. He could throw 120 pitches and be fine the next day or, next start. So, I mean, but that's the common sense rule that you can't have because people don't have common sense for the most part. But it was based off I remember we had a new farm director come in, and we had never had pitch counts. Again, it was always common sense with the Angels.
Yeah.
We had a new farm director come in, Darryl Miller. I remember. Ex-catcher, big leaguer. And all of a sudden now he wants to implement these pitch counts. Well, we'd never had them. And this is when Stoneman and Forsey were running the organization. And I had told managers and pitching coaches, I said, no, we don't have pitch counts. Because Darryl had never come to me and said, hey, this is what we're going to do. But what happened was a kid would throw 110 pitches, which back then was not uncommon.
Right, I remember.
That was nothing. That was typical for a starting pitcher. And all of a sudden, I'm getting a call from the pitching coach or the manager saying, hey, Daryl just called me and ripped me a new one because we let so-and-so go out there and throw 110 pitches. And I said, well, yeah, so we've been doing that for 15 years here. And this kept happening and happening. And never really heard anything from Daryl about, hey, just want to let you know, we're going to start implementing these pitch counts, and this is what we're going to go by. It's going to be organizational policy. That never happened. So finally, I went straight to Bill Stoneman. And I said, hey, Bill, this is what's going on. I'm getting calls from managers and pitching coaches that are saying, hey, they're getting their asses chewed out by Daryl for this and that. And I said, we've never had pitch counts here. Do you want us to implement pitch counts? And I'll never forget his response. He goes, well, no, we don't necessarily have to have pitch counts. I said, but if we put any number out there, he goes, just don't let them throw more than 300 pitches in 2 consecutive starts. That was his answer.
Really?
300 pitches in 2 consecutive starts. I said, all right, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, that's how it was back then. And again, we didn't have the injuries like they have nowadays.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like, why are they,
because it's all about throwing hard.
Yeah.
Just let it go, throw it as hard as you can. Doesn't matter where it goes. Command is not it's starting to inch back in now, I think. But for the last 5, 6, 7 years, it's just, let's teach these guys to throw as hard as they can throw.
And you see that. You see velocity.
Absolutely.
You see wind-ups. You see how they're throwing.
It's all max effort.
Yeah, and it's like they don't have that control. Mm-mm. They can't pitch like, there's so many guys back in the day were throwing 92, but, Maddox didn't throw hard.
No, he didn't.
He's one of the greatest pitchers to ever pitch.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. He threw hard when he came up.
And I guarantee you tell Maddox he's coming out, there's no way.
Chance.
No chance.
No chance.
So it's kind of like, I guess it's, old school against the new school stuff. And it's not necessarily the players, it's the people that are in control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the decision makers.
That's what's ruining it.
That's what's changed it. Yes.
I'm saying ruin it. You can say change. Yeah. But
not change for the better.
I saw somebody walk into San Diego and demolish something and then get fired 2 years later. And how does that happen?
Yeah,
No,
it's I don't care what people say, old school versus new school, all that kind of stuff. The game has changed. And for me, not for the better. Not for the better.
To me, it's too mechanical now. Too many, I can't slide this way, you can't do that, you can't, you can't have 3 people on the left side.
No,
it's just so many things that are unnecessary.
And I'm not, and exactly, that's what I was just going to say, and I'm not quite sure what the purpose is of a lot of these rules.
Yeah.
Pitchers can't throw over to first base more than twice now. I don't know.
Well, what about when there's a tie score and you have a runner at second
base? I kind of like that one in the minor leagues because otherwise you could play
be there all day,
2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
That's so
and
true.
Some of those ballparks you don't want to be there till 2 or 3 in the morning.
That's so true.
So in the minor leagues, I kind of get it. You think about it, and they have that rule that they use for the 162 games. Now, when you get into the playoffs, it's not a rule anymore. Why is that?
Right.
Because it's probably not a good rule.
Right.
Right?
That's
my thinking.
That would be my thinking.
If you're going to not do it in the playoffs, when I guess things really count, then why? Why do you do it during the season? You're not going to do it in the playoffs. I love the pitch clock.
Yeah,
I really do.
Yeah,
I think they should have incorporated that at the lower levels in the minor leagues.
Right.
Years ago, because it's not just the pitchers. The hitters take forever to get in the box too.
I agree. I think that's a positive thing.
Absolutely.
Like I played in Japan, and every at bat, as soon as you take a swing, step back out, umpire says dozo.
Yep.
Dozo.
Yeah. No, that's one of the rules that I was ecstatic about when they put in. Like I said, when they put it in finally, I was back coaching in the rookie leagues, and we didn't have it.
Right.
And my thought process and my argument was, that's where you need it.
Right.
when they first start playing the game professionally, teach them how to do it now. Now when they get to AA, AAA, and the big league, it's not an issue. Like the pitch clock isn't an issue anymore.
No,
Not like it was when it first started. Everybody complaining about it. Pitchers, hitters, everybody complaining about it. It's not even talked about anymore.
Right. Let me ask you this. You know this more than I do, but there's been talk. Are they going to do a ball and strike like that? People are allowed to make mistakes. Umpires should be allowed to make mistakes.
It's part of the game. It's always been part of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, but
To try and make a game perfect?
you can't.
No.
You don't want to. Why would you?
No.
I mean, but to get back to your question, are they going to make that ABS, automatic ball strike thing, part of Major League Baseball? Based off of the history of the rules that they've put into place, I'm going to say, yeah, next year.
That's what they're saying.
It's been going back. I was lucky enough to do the fall league like 4 or 5 times, and that was always kind of like a testing ground for a lot of these rules.
That's right. I did it one time.
It was a blast. But
Yeah.
that was always a testing ground for a lot of these rules.
That's right.
And the last couple of years, they've used it in the fall league, and now they've been using it in AAA for the last couple of years.
Right.
And the fact that they used it in half of the ballparks in Major League Spring Training this year,
That's an indication.
I'm going to say that there's a real good chance that it's going to happen next year.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me, I got mixed. I don't want it. I mean, I'm like you. Umps are going to miss calls, which leads to arguments, which are half the fun too. But I think that umpires, I think it's going to get to a point where the umpire, all he does is sit back there and call timeouts and safe and out at home plate. And
That's going to be a sad day if that happens.
I'm telling you, that's where it's heading. Because like right now in spring training, they could tap their helmet and
I
challenge.
saw that.
Well, I think that part's going to be gone. I think it's just going to be the umpire is going to sit back there, and the ABS system is going to make the call, and it's going to be right or wrong. I mean, so like I said, the home plate umpire, they're going to be that back there, overseeing the game and calling, safe and out at home and fair and foul and all that kind of stuff. But as far as balls and strikes, I think it's all going to be automated.
I want to share a story when we were we were coordinating. And and it was in Portland. And this was one of the most key moments in my coaching career. And it's the day when I think our AAA club was going to play the Major League club, and you and I were coordinators in Portland.
No, we weren't coordinating yet.
Oh no, we were.
I was the pitching coach, and you were the hitting coach.
That's right. So,
and the big club came up to play us a preseason game before the season started.
Up in Portland, Beaver State. Yeah.
Yes.
So the word got around, there's going to be a big thing. There's going to be press there. There's going to be KT, our general manager, the late Kevin Towers. Unfortunately, he passed away. Everybody was going to be there, all the brass and everybody. And I used to get nervous when I had to throw when there's people behind that net and behind that screen. We were in Seattle. No, we were in Portland. And it kind of dawned on me one morning. I was like, man, I'm going to have to throw. And there's going to be all kinds of owners and stuff there. And I was just like, so I walk up and I said, hey, old buddy, I got a question for you. One day, I said, hey, I'm having like a little bit of anxiety of throwing BP. And you said, this was exactly what you said. Oh, I got you. I'll just throw 2 groups. And I'm like, I felt totally horrible. And you're like, no, I totally get it.
No, you didn't. You felt great when I said I got 2 groups.
I turned around. I was like, oh. But.
No, it can be intimidating. Yeah, I remember that day perfectly. Yeah.
Remember the day in Salt Lake City where I punched the fertilizer? The fertilizer bucket that was on the field. We had, instead of a ball bag, we had a fertilizer
bucket. That's where they put the balls in.
And I got so pissed off that day, I ended up smoking the fertilizer thing and cut my hand all open. And everybody in the cage, they're all just sitting there going, "You're all right. You're throwing good." And it was.
Because I remember after we finished hitting, we had gone in the clubhouse and we had our coach's room, and I remember I had beat you in there. I think you were still out there beating the shit out of the fertilizer machine.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting at my desk, and your desk was right behind me. And walked in, and I just kept my head down. And you had the ass.
Oh.
All of a sudden, you look at me, you go, why are you so quiet over there? And I didn't even look up. I just kind of looked out of the corner of my eye, and I said, well, to be honest with you, I'm kind of scared of you right now.
That was like,
I will never forget that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And now it's like I don't have any problems, but it's funny how that word pops in, especially as coaching, and especially as
It's real.
It's real, and I always used to say, Coach, you might need to pick me up, man. My fingers are growing. Remember, I said whenever I started getting where it's like I'm losing control, I felt like my fingers were like this long.
Yeah.
And I was trying to throw the ball right here, and it was like I can't control it.
No, it's a real thing, because I dealt with that.
Yeah, a
I
lot of
dealt with
people.
it when I was with the Angels, and it was during the strike year. I can't remember what year it was exactly they had the strike. 96? Was there a strike in 96?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember. But they had, they were putting together that replacement team thing, and they were going to go with that for spring training
Right.
and start the year. Well, as a minor league coach at the time, we were trying to put it together, and then all of a sudden they settled, and your big league spring training, I mean, it was like, you guys
Right.
had like 2 weeks,
Right.
and they were going to start the season. Well, with the Angels, I mean, they had all the minor league coaches. We were throwing, I mean, constantly, because all the big leaguers were trying to get more swings. So we do our minor league thing in the morning, and then right over to wherever the big leaguers, back then it was Genotti Park, so it was the same place, but we're just throwing and throwing and throwing and throwing. And I remember I got a blister on my finger, and you couldn't not throw. You had to keep throwing.
Oh yeah.
And so I tried putting a Band-Aid on it because it was hard to throw with a blister. So I put a Band-Aid on it, and I had no feel. It's kind of like you're talking about, where your fingers
Scary.
feel like they're 1.5 feet long. And I'm throwing in big league to the big leaguers, and Bill Schroeder, ex-catcher, I hit him in the back. I mean, I drilled it right straight in the back. And he walked out of the cage on me. And from that day forward, it took me like 6 years before I was comfortable throwing batting practice again.
Yeah.
I mean, and thank God I was coordinating, so you really didn't have to.
Right.
I mean, you just go around team to team and just watch. But I had the thing for a long, long time.
I've seen people and players. A lot of people don't like to admit that or to say that they had that. But
Oh, you have to admit it.
it's like you can't hide it. 'Cause
then you can
let me
laugh.
tell you, they'll find you.
No, then you can laugh at everybody when you
Yeah.
see somebody else with it. If you've never had it, then you
thing.
can't laugh.
Yeah, and I think my situation. This is the God's honest truth. My situation where this happened is I was probably 3 years into coaching with San Diego, and I was doing the Milwaukee Brewers fantasy camp. I did it like for 15 years, and so I was there one morning. I think this is the last time I was in camp, but this is a true story. We get to the ballpark. Everybody's out there going to stretch, and then we were setting up the fields. And if this is ever a factor to throw in BP, it's like it gets in my head. But I'm looking, and the grass is just white, and it's wet.
Oh, yeah.
It's cold, and that day was cold. And I'm like, and the director of the fantasy camp came up to me, and he says, hey, Rooster, you mind throwing? I was like, no worries. I didn't think, but it's like I knew that wet grass, it was going to be a factor for me.
It is.
And it's like,
as
soon as you pick up a wet ball and let go, it's like the Band-Aid. So
Yes.
I am in fantasy camp for the Milwaukee Brewers, and one of the longtime guys, he had been there for years, and he was, pushing 70, 75, 80, little guy, right?
Yeah.
So we start, and I'm throwing, and you know how when all of a sudden, if you ever done a fantasy camp, all of a sudden there's an older guy, you have to toss it a little higher, maybe throw a little bit slower.
Yeah.
So he gets in there and he always calls me Rooster. Hey, Rooster. You know, they talk in Milwaukee. And he's like, throw me a strike. I got my helmet on. So everybody's standing around and throw him a couple pitches. And he's starting to, like, just make contact. And all of a sudden, something happened. And I airmailed it, and it hit him in the head.
Oh, God.
Thank God they're wearing helmets.
Yeah.
And I was throwing easy for him. And so it hit him in the head, and he kind of went down, and everybody's like, Rooster, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, my God.
Just killed a guy.
Yeah, I was like, are you okay? And he's like, no problem, Rooster. And he gets up, dusts himself off. And the next pitch, I throw it, and it hit him right in the neck. So when that happened, I was just, and that hit me for a while. Oh. But I throw good now. I like throwing BP.
I threw all.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm You're 67 now, and I threw all, winter here, but summer down in Australia. Do every day down there. But I'll tell you what, the thing, it still never leaves you. It's always in the back of my mind.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And it can take one pitch, like you said.
Yes.
Where you just lose it, and then it's hard to get back. It really is hard to get back.
And that poor pitcher for St. Louis who went through that ankle.
Ankle, yeah.
I mean, what a great athlete he was. And people don't understand this, but Robin Yount, who's one of my favorite best friends, he had said to me one time, ground ball, when he's like, ground ball is short, when he has to be on a knee or something, that throw back to second base to get a double play, he said that would get him.
Yeah.
And he said he really had to focus on. So, I mean, he's one of the best, greatest of all time.
Absolutely.
Anybody can get this.
No, it doesn't
Yeah, remember
distinguish between who you are or what you've done.
No. There's a major league hitting coach that I hired when I was there, Jose Castro.
Oh, yeah.
One of my favorite all time, right?
Nacho.
Our favorite. Yeah,
Nacho.
Nachi. But he has said to me he had it. And he's been a major league hitting coach now for 10 years. Yeah. Won a World Series with Atlanta.
Yep.
He would go into the spring training facility in Florida before we signed him to be a hitting coach. He would have the clubhouse kid in spring training when he was with the Marlins, and he would go dress out every morning, like at 5 a.m, with all the catcher's gear, mask, everything, helmet.
And go hit off him?
He'd go stand in the batting cage, and he would throw. When you're a hitting coach, you have to throw.
Oh, absolutely.
And, like, it's just, to be able to get over that, you, me,
I'm telling you.
like, it's a huge relief.
And again, like I said, it never goes away.
It
really doesn't ever go away.
Yeah, if somebody could fix that, can you imagine?
Oh, you'd be very wealthy.
I've saved kind of my favorite part for the end.
What do you got?
Well, this whole thing's my favorite part, but I want you to tell us what you just went through recently. And you're the first person that I've ever met of all baseball people that can honestly say that. Tell us what happened.
Well, I just finally got to check something off my bucket list, which was, I think this is what you're talking about, is I got to go down to Australia and coach.
Yes.
And you probably remember back in our day when we were coaching and maybe even playing, but coaching for sure, we used to send players down there just to get extra at-bats or extra innings on the mound. And that kind of stuff. So it's been a league that's been around for a long, long time. I think, I don't remember when it was, but it kind of went away because it's all, for the most part, it's government funded.
Yeah.
And baseball, which I'm surprised you didn't understand it. Baseball is not huge down there. Cricket's huge.
Oh yeah.
Australian rules football is huge. Soccer's pretty big. Baseball, I mean, there are some avid baseball people down there, which makes it really cool when you're playing.
True baseball fan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I got to check off going to Australia to coach is off my bucket list, and it was a guy that I've known for a long time.
Bennett?
Jim Bennett.
Yeah.
He'd been around, coached up here in the States for a long time. I actually hired him twice.
Yeah, I remember you always talking about him, saying good things about him.
I hired him one time when I was with the Angels, and then hired him again when we were with the Padres. I don't know if you remember or not. I think he did the rookie league one of the years that you were here.
Yeah.
But he's been big in Australia. He's been going down there for like 10 or 12 years. And he's actually the pitching coach for their national team. the one that plays in the WBC and all that kind of stuff. So he's been down there. He's big down there. And he's been a pitching coach down there. He was a pitching coach in Brisbane for like 6 years in a row. And they won 5 championships the 6 years he was there. And anyway, long story short, before last winter here, summer down there, he got a chance. They called and they offered him the chance to manage in Canberra, which Canberra is the capital of Australia. And he got a chance to manage and was able to hire some coaches on his own. And so he asked me if I wanted to go. I said, absolutely, I want to go.
Absolutely.
And probably the craziest thing, and maybe the most fun of the whole thing, was that I didn't go down there as his pitching coach, which that's all I've ever done.
Right.
I went down there as his bench coach, and I coached third base.
Oh, cool.
That
must have been real fun.
Oh man, you talk about nervous.
Yeah, I've never seen you coach. That's
Nobody's
funny.
ever seen me coach.
Right.
I've never done it.
Right.
Yeah, I had never coached third before.
Yeah.
Maybe in a spring training game for an inning or two.
That could be a pressure situation.
I'm telling you, I had no idea
Yeah.
until I got out there.
Yeah.
And it was cool in the sense that you're more of a part. I felt like I was more of a part of the whole game.
Oh yeah.
As opposed to pitching, I just zero in on what's going on with the pitchers and their hitters, and kind of that was it. When I got out to third base, I mean, it was so cool because there were so many things that I'd heard other people talk about, and just the stuff that I honestly didn't pay that much attention to during the course of a game. I pay attention, but not intent. Now all of a sudden, okay, what's this guy's arm like in the outfield? What's this, can the catcher throw? Where are they playing? Are they got him to pull? Is this guy, all those little things.
Yeah.
Who's on base? Can this guy, all these things.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah.
And so last October went down, and we spent about a month getting ready, just working out and playing a couple of preseason games, and then started the season. And the season is 10 weeks long, and you only play on the weekends. There's 6 teams because you play 5 teams twice, once at their place, once at your place, and you play a 4-game series.
Oh, okay.
And some cities are Friday, doubleheader Saturday, 1 game Sunday.
Oh, that's cool.
Others are Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all single games. So depending upon where you're playing, it was either 3 or 4 days a week. But the other days, you would work out. And we always had Mondays off because a lot of times we were traveling back on Sundays. So we always had Mondays off. But Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays, we'd always have workouts in the evenings. The crazy thing is that probably 90% of the players in the league down there, and there's some good players. There's some big leaguers.
I've heard that they're tough down there.
Oh, big
They're
time.
tough players, and they're always strong.
They're gamers.
Oh yeah, they're gamers.
They're gamers. They play the game down there the way we used to play it up here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's intense. The games are good.
Yeah.
The quality, maybe a AA level, overall.
That's pretty good.
It's not bad for kids that most of them have never been out of Australia. They just play club ball down there and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But the really impressive part for me, and that was part of the reason, like, we couldn't work out till like 4:30 or 5 o'clock in the evenings on the off days, because these guys work for a living.
Oh, yeah.
They all have jobs.
That's true.
So the baseball gig is just, it's a weekend thing for them.
Yeah.
Well, the games are the weekend. But, we literally have guys showing up at 4:30 to go hit in the cages or get ready to stretch and do stuff on the field. They're pulling up at the stadium. They're getting out of their cars or their work trucks.
Yeah.
With their work boots on.
Yep.
Some guys are getting out of their cars with suit and ties on.
Good for them.
It's impressive. I couldn't do it.
No.
There's
no way.
I'd be exhausted.
Oh.
I would be exhausted.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. And like I said, you have to kind of go down there. It's kind of like going to winter ball, where you have to have the right mindset. If you go down there thinking it's going to be like playing in the States,
no,
you're going to be disappointed. We're fixing the field ourselves.
Yeah.
We're bringing
that's
the
fun
cages
stuff,
out,
though. Because we have never had to do it. And you
not
see
really.
People, yeah.
Not really. But they don't blink.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
And
the biggest thing is you won the World Series.
We won it all.
They won Australian World Series.
They picked us the Canberra hadn't been to the playoffs in like 10 years, and they last few years they were pretty bad. So we were picked to finish dead last in the preseason polls. Oh yeah, we're and there's only, I say there's 6 teams, 4 teams make the playoffs. We're picked to finish dead last.
Really?
And
you won the whole thing.
We ended up winning the whole thing. We snuck in. We played really well the first half, and then the second half, I think we went like, I don't know, 4-16. But we got in the very last day of the season. Literally, we were shaking hands, thinking we were done, because I think it was Melbourne or something. They were winning their game, and if they won, they were in. We were out. They ended up giving up a 6th spot in the bottom of the 9th.
No.
They lose. We're shaking hands, and our trainers got their game on the phone. They lose. They said, we're in. So
no. And then you end up winning it.
And then we end up winning it all, but it gets even better because it's 1 against 4, 2 versus 3.
Oh, I got you.
The playoffs.
Right.
The first round. And it's a 2 out of 3, and they're all 3 games, if you need them, are at the higher seeds place. So we're 4. Sydney was 1 all year long. They led the league all year long. They
were the team.
They were the team the whole season. In fact, we played 4 preseason games and then 8 regular season games against them during the season, during the summer. We were 1-11.
Really?
Against them the whole summer.
And when it counted?
And then we get into the playoffs, again, in Sydney. We're down 2-0 in the 9th inning. 2 outs, 2 strike count on our catcher, beats out an infield base hit. Next thing you know, boom, 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 we win it 3-2. Go out the next day, beat them 5-1 or something, and advance to the next round.
That is so cool.
It was really cool.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
As soon as I started reading that on some soft social media thing, and I think it's from Tyler.
Probably
or
my son posted
Lisa.
something.
Yeah. But I started seeing it, and then I was like, shit, he's going to win the World Series. And then there was a big celebration thing. Yeah. So I said, I got to get a hold of Couch.
Yeah. I drank some champagne off the Claxton Shield, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Their Claxton Shield's kind of like it's like the Stanley Cup of Australian baseball. And
do you guys get rings?
I just found out last week that we are getting rings.
Show us the other ring you have.
That's one I got in 2014 with the Giants.
2014.
Yeah. That's when I landed in the right spot after the Padres fired me. I landed in the right spot at the right time.
World Series ring.
Yeah, that's one right there.
There you go.
That's the one.
That's what everybody plays for, that's right there.
Yep. No, it's lucky enough to have 3 of them now. So
that's so cool.
In fact, you might remember this. The first one I got was 2002. I was still with the Angels. That was my last year with the Angels. As coordinator, and they had beat the Giants in the World Series in 2002. Well, 2003 was when you and I were in Portland, and Lisa and Tyler came up to visit. And,
your family?
Yeah, my family, and my wife brought the ring because Tony Riggins, I think, was the farm director at the time, had given it to her to get to me.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget picking him up at the airport.
Crazy.
And I think Tyler, 2002, he was probably 10, 11. Anyway, I meet him at baggage claim. My wife hands me the ring, and I'm looking at it, and you saw it. It was a pretty cool ring.
Real cool.
And I'll never forget my son looking at me and goes, "Dad, don't take this wrong, but I can't wait for you to die so I can have that ring." I just started laughing my ass off.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah.
I can't wait for you to die so I get that ring.
Yeah, that's.
So now I'm really nervous because I got 3 of them now, so he's probably going to try to kill me.
I got to tell you, this year I managed in fantasy camp.
Did you win?
We won it.
Nice.
It was the first year.
Nice.
And last year I came in 2nd place and I had the trophy. Then this year I got a little bigger trophy.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a special on that too. But I love fantasy camps.
I'm telling you, and you laugh, but you won the championship in the fantasy league. My last year of coaching with the Giants, 2022, before I retired, we actually won the championship in the rookie league out here.
Oh.
And so I won that championship and then won the championship in Australia. I don't care what level you win a
No,
championship at.
doesn't matter.
I mean, obviously the World Series is the World Series.
Yeah.
But you win a championship in rookie league,
Isn't it true?
or in Australia,
Oh,
the feeling is just as cool.
oh yeah.
I mean, it is just such a feeling of
Accomplishment.
excitement, accomplishment,
Yeah.
happy for the kids. I mean, that's what's so cool is
Yeah.
it's to see the work that the kids put in to pay off like it does.
Celebration.
Oh,
That's all.
It's a blast.
I'm glad you got to enjoy that.
Yeah.
You deserve that on your way out.
Why not?
You put in a long time.
Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, Cooch, it's always a pleasure seeing you. And I haven't seen you in a while,
No, it's
but
been too long.
now we're close, and you're here back in American soil.
Yes, I am.
So
On the same day. I'm not a day ahead.
pleasure, Cooch, always.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for
Means a
having
lot.
me. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Means a lot to me.
All right. Thank you, everybody.